Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. We're excited that you've joined us as we have a conversation.
It's time to join the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Hardheaded. I am your host, Matt Amos. With me, as always, is Chet Sears and Troy. It's that time of season 3 shot. Trussell.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting there. Today, we're going to hear what's on Chet's mind. Our top 3 today is the top 3 embarrassing moments. So looking forward to that because I thought I was doing pretty good and it was going to be kind of, I had one happen and I was like, this would be a good top 3. I'm going to have a hard time coming up with another 2. I didn't. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have. And then Troy's going to finish it out with a good word. So let's kick it off with Chet. What is on your mind?
All right. I've kind of along the theme of embarrassing moments.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, USC was playing Washington, and the quarterback for USC won the Heisman last year, Caleb Williams. Yeah. I know I'm talking about things that you guys don't know much about already.
I watch college football way more than I've watched high school football. So
I watch a lot less college football and a lot more high school football.
Anyway, after the loss, the quarterback did what they're calling the Lambeau Weep. He jumped up into the stands and, like, with his legs still on the rail, leaned over against his mom's shoulder and proceeded to bawl like a baby, convulsing like with his helmet still on.
What in the world? What's happening?
And his mom put like a poster over his helmet to hide his face. And like all of the ESPN analysts that I have seen that have commented on this are like, more power to him. He plays the game with emotion, which is why he's crying on his mom's shoulder in the stands.
No.
And I'm wondering what that would have been like. There was something, a long time ago, like in the 90s, some dude got concussed and they were like carting him off, and the mom like met him in the tunnel on the way out, and like that dude never lived it down. Like, how dare you mama's boy, he's getting carted off the field, and she's just going to go back there. And everybody was like, "Oh, that mama boy." That's the age I grew up in.
Yeah, me too.
And then now this dude is like bawling because he lost a game. Didn't get hurt. He just lost a game, and I'm crying on my mom, like heaving crying. Which, okay, I'm being a little harsh. You go back to last year. And when TCU lost to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, so TCU undefeated, going to make a run for the national championship. They meet the Kansas State Wildcats in the Big 12 championship at AT&T Stadium, and K-State beats them, and beats them in a pretty amazing fashion. Had a first and goal, 4-down stand. The K-State defense stopped Max Dugan, who had. Or Duggan, however you pronounce his last name, who had, what are you doing over there?
My computer Siri is like going off. It's stupid.
Well, anyway,
continue.
So in the press conference, Max is in the press conference, and he was like, "Man, we had a shot at the national title. I let my team down." And like his eyes, he's a redhead, so he's very pale, and his eyes are just red. And every now and then he'll reach up and wipe a tear as he's talking through, the loss and how he let his fans down and all this stuff, some emotion. And I'm not to say I'm condoning that, but an ESPN announcer tweeted that press conference, and was like, Max is all about his team, his fans, and, tough loss, but I love the raw emotion. Caleb Williams retweeted with LOL. Like,
what?
And then a year later, he's in the stands, like huddled up on his mommy's lap, bawling after a loss. I don't know. That is quite embarrassing. I thought it was funny because it's being it was labeled as the Lambo Weep instead of the Lambo Leap. Which
that's pretty good.
Other thing. So hunting season. We brought this up. I'm just going to hit a few quick topics here, and then I'll be done. I'm not focusing in on one thing.
Lots been on your mind lately, I guess.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
So anyway, it's kind of along the lines of most embarrassing moment.
This is Chet's version of being unprepared. I feel like that's what this is.
It could be.
I feel like he didn't prepare anything. Like,
Dude.
really prepare anything?
He's got notes.
Yeah.
He's got notes, folks.
You of little knowledge.
It
You do not know of what you speak.
depends on what.
Well, when did we get how did he even know I was going to do a what's on my mind until Matt told us like 2 hours ago?
You
And
knew.
I still come prepared.
You still knew it was coming.
I didn't know I was going to have a what's on my mind.
So
but
everybody listening, Matt is in charge of the schedule, and we did get it a bit late this time. But hey, I'm prepared.
I'm prepared too.
I mean, it kind of snuck up, right? But I've had a lot going on. So.
Whatever, I don't hear it. So I was getting ready for duck season, and I realized, because I've got a lot of these motion decoys, the different brands, the Mojo brand, the Lucky Duck brand, all this stuff. And like 3 years ago, I bought, one of the problems with them is, the stakes. Like you got to drive the stake into the dirt to hold the spinning wing decoy up. In some places that I hunt, it's just clay, and you can't get the stake into the ground, or good enough for a Kansas wind not to blow that thing over. And so I was looking, and I found on sale a floating spinning wing decoy that actually has some straps on the wings that make the splashies, so it's,
That make a splash. Yeah.
He said splashies.
He said splashes.
Splash and spin.
Spinnies?
Spinnies and splashies. And I was super excited about it because I got a crazy good deal. And the first year when I unbox it and I plug everything up, it doesn't work. And I'm like, no wonder it was on sale, this stupid thing. And so I put it aside and went to work on my other decoys, because all those decoys, first thing that goes out is the switches, especially on Mojos. They're trash. So I go to the hardware store and buy a switch and solder and rewire all that crap. And so every year I go back through and make sure everything's good and have to fix some stuff, because as they fall out throughout the hunting season, I just toss them aside and then take the next one. So I did the same thing. I tossed it, and then next year, same thing. Got it out the night before, and I'm like, oh crap, I can't get this thing to work. And I look at this, and I take that apart, and I still can't get it to work. Throw it aside, work on all the other ones. So then, getting ready for this season, I pull it out, and I'm like, I am gonna fix this. Like, I'm not. It just won't turn on. I get the light to come on, all this stuff, but it just won't start spinning. And I finally break down and said, well, I'm going to get on YouTube and see if this is some kind of a common thing with this brand and this type of duck decoy. And I couldn't find anything online about it. And I'm like, well, crap, normally there's a good community out there when you have stuff that commonly breaks. But then I found just an introductory video from that company. Is like, hey, when you get your thing, let's do these things. And like the second sentence out of his mouth, it was, don't forget the water sensor on the bottom of the unit will make sure that it doesn't turn on unless it's in the water. And which is a feature so that you can't accidentally turn it on in your bag and run your battery down. And it has these little contacts, and when it's in the water. So I walk over to the faucet.
Safety mechanism.
I walk over to the faucet and like put some water on that thing, and it fires right up. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm buying way too.
I agree.
Get no argument from me.
No argument on this side of the table.
Yeah. So that's been going on.
That's embarrassing. That should be your number one.
So have you guys noticed as you get older, I don't know, maybe I'm alone here, but you get less stuff for significant events. So my wife's birthday was yesterday, and we still go all out for like the women in our lives, but Has it come to the point where it doesn't really matter if it's your birthday or a Tuesday? It's, hey, Dad.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your birthday.
I can't remember what, I think 7 or 8 years ago is when I started texting my parents. Hey, happy birthday. Love you guys.
Yeah. And I know my dad was, or your grandparents, I'm looking forward to Christmas so I could get my shirts and underwear or whatever. It's just
yeah.
It's just not a thing anymore. And it happened. I'm not even 50 and it's already happened. I don't know if that's sooner or later.
Whoa. You're not 50?
No, come on, man. I don't know what you're talking about. You got a long time till I'm 50. A long time.
That's funny.
Anyway, happy birthday to my wife. It was a fantastic day yesterday with lots of celebrations. And
I'm glad Chet went all out.
Yeah.
The family went all out. For Mama.
But that just doesn't happen for the dudes.
Nope.
Not anymore.
I think the last gift that I got from my wife was like a miniature cornhole game that's literally this big.
Yeah.
From the dollar store, I think.
I'll probably beat you at that too.
You haven't beat me at regular cornhole, so
I'm in a foodie cornhole tournament coming up here in December.
Are you using real corn?
No.
Because it's foodies. You got to do something with food. I think you ought to throw corn cobs at those holes.
Speaking of,
That'd be pretty
You ought to
funny.
do it. People watch that. That's internet gold.
That's good.
speaking of corn, Peruvian dried corn. So that have you been to that Peruvian restaurant here in town?
Gabby's? Oh yeah.
So that's one of my. So that lomo saltado they have is off the chart. It's amazing. It's really good. But when you're getting ready to eat, they always have these little pieces of dried corn that they've roasted. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, when I went, they put on like a buffet it was a foodie night event, and
I'm sure they had some of these somewhere, but
Probably.
anyway, so
Look, splashy foodie. Let's make fun of him too.
that's what it's called. We're called foodies. I mean,
That's
that's
the same
just like
thing. Look in the owner's manual. It's a splashy device. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, y'all are on it today. But
That's what happens when we don't get a schedule until 3 minutes ago.
I ordered some of that corn, and I've been roasting it on the stovetop. So it's like
What corn?
it's Peruvian corn. I don't know exactly what
It's the same corn.
But so you roast it, and then it kind of puffs up, but not
Like popcorn?
But it's not popcorn. So
It doesn't pop.
it doesn't
puffs.
pop.
It's puff corn.
It puffs up.
It's puff corn
But you know those like crunchy kernels at the bottom?
or puffy corn.
puffy.
Puffy corn. Splashy, foodie, puffy.
I'm not going to call
We
it.
can have our own cereal.
I mean,
What's
Snap,
his
Crackle, Pop.
nickname? Doesn't it end in the E?
I can't remember.
The E sound. I can't remember any.
I don't think so.
Anyway, puffy corn. You're roasting your own Peruvian corn at home.
Yeah. It's really good.
Is it sweet or salty?
No. You salt it up, so it's just almost like popcorn, but it's just like a roasted kernel.
I'm in my head right now. I'm thinking like the Corn Pops cereal.
Ooh,
No, real small.
Okay.
gotta
Real
have
small.
my pops.
I'll bring some in on a future episode as a snack.
Oh,
I'll
that'd be
roast
good.
I'll roast some up and bring it. It's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got on that topic, but it's really good.
I don't know. Speaking of corn, man, those deer slammed that corn I put out. I got some fat deer.
I
I some really fat deer.
Hey, fatties.
Fatties.
well,
I'm telling
so
you.
I still haven't been out and done anything at all.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe every bit of it was gone.
But-
680 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah, it goes.
Yeah.
wow.
It must have been that cool down got him.
I guess.
Hitting it
They hit it hard, but it hit it everywhere. It wasn't all in one place.
We
They
got
hit
some
everywhere.
raccoons out there too, I'm sure.
They're not going to put away that.
No, but I mean, they got some help. It's not all
Well,
deer eating
and
it.
crows and whatever else, squirrels,
Yeah.
but
But the deer put away the most.
dude.
Yeah.
And the other thing is last time I was out there, I saw deer on my place while we were there, and then we had the whole drive back at dusk and nothing. Didn't see any deer on it. So I'm like, oh, the deer moving on my place, but they're not anywhere else, which is not normal either.
You got it out there in time.
I guess
You hit it just right.
Be a good season for you.
I'm telling you I always used to go out and prep September 1st. That was always when I went out and got everything done, and that's when I started feeding corn. When I used to feed corn, and that would always get him coming in early. I haven't been out to do anything, and I almost hit the biggest deer of my life on the drive home the other night. I mean, I text you about it. I think both of you, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was a big 10. I mean, and he jumped right out in front of the truck, and I'm like,
Was it near your place?
Like, so you know that curve just before you get to my house? So you're coming around. And
From the south side or the north side?
well, that would be the south.
Okay, I don't normally go that way, but I could figure it out.
So anyway, but there's a big
There's a couple houses there.
big pond right there.
Yeah.
There's some trees, and then it was kind of right there, and he ran right across the road, and I was like, I dang near smoked him,
Yeah.
but got stopped fast enough, and then just enough to where like I probably should have just hit him.
Yeah, that may have make a good mount.
That may have been the biggest deer I've ever seen, but yeah, it was huge. It was a big deer, so I think it's going to be a good year for deer, even though we haven't had a whole lot of rain, and but I think the crops did okay this year, so I think that they're all right.
Well, we'll see. My crops didn't do well. Everything's bone dry. I'll show you some pictures of the pond out there, man. It's so dry. Two more things. I may give up handshakes here, not for any germ reason, but 3 distinct times in the last 10 days, I've shaken somebody's hand and it made the noise. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, what? That's never really happened to me. And like the first time it happened, I was like, oh gosh, that's kind of embarrassing. And then it happened 2 more times in just like the last week. You know what? Have you ever had that happen before?
No.
That's crazy. Like you don't want to meet somebody like, how are you doing, sir? And then your handshake makes a little toot noise. So maybe I'm cupping my hand too much, and now maybe I should flatten it out a little bit more for the handshake because it was just
You're just perspiring a little bit too much in the hand.
know.
Oh man.
I don't know.
Maybe
they are. It's 2 people go together on this.
But it's happened 3 times.
just
to
made
you.
it weird.
I think
I've been
you're
doing this all my life. That's how you do the in the pool. You know how you squirt the water. That's how you do that.
It's not how I. Yeah.
Can you do it under your armpit?
It's been a decade or 2, but I was like everybody was like, all the people that I knew were like, oh, you can't do it better than Chet. He's like awesome.
Claim to fame right there.
I had a skill.
I tried it the other day. Couldn't do it.
No way. I'm gonna
lost
try it.
I lost it.
I
try it tonight.
tried it the other day too because I have 4 boys 11 and under, and they're all doing it. They don't have hair yet, so they can do it.
I was talented
with hair.
With hair.
and
Oh yeah.
everything? I don't know. I
can make it. I can make
I
it
think
talk.
that's what messed me up was I was like, I think the last time I did this, I didn't have as much hair.
No,
on my
dude.
armpits.
I could have won some competitions. Like, what? Well, I dial it up. Like, what do you want? What do you want right now? You want a little juicy? You want a little dry? Like a forceful? A little squeaker?
I mean, I used to be able to create all of those different variations that you're talking about, and I had no legitimate reason to even do it at all. I just like, I wonder if I can even do that anymore. Just a thought that came to me at a random time.
Yeah, I had
and I was like, I can't. I wonder what happened.
There was a moment there, like in college, it was a sideshow. Like people would come, Chet, you got to show everybody.
You're still a sideshow.
Yeah, not for that though. All right, last one. Different tone here. The manifesto, part of the manifesto of the Nashville shooter came out last week, a little more than a week ago. You guys are aware of this?
I'm not aware of what you're talking about.
Semi-aware.
No.
So the Nashville school shooter, she person that went there and killed 6 people, and had a manifesto. They told on that day that they found the manifesto, but they're not going to release it. Nashville PD's been sued to release it, and
so I knew that, and that's one of those stories that got buried so quick too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the 3 pages of the many apparently notebooks were pictures of those pages hit the internet, and it is why you kind of understand why, and I'm not going to read through it. I don't want to give any justification. It was white hate, white privilege, and they wanted to shoot as many kids that go to schools that require khakis and polos. Like this was a hatred of whiteness, basically, which is one of the reasons they want. And then you're like, I don't know if this is legit or not, but the Nashville PD came out same day this stuff came out and said we're going to find who leaked this, like and pursue the fullest extent of whatever, which then confirms it, in my opinion. Because if they could have denied and said, oh, that's fake, or if they kept their mouth shut, there could have been a debate about it. But they immediately came out and said, we're going after whoever leaked this information. So, and then it alluded to, it had like a schedule. It alluded to, in the schedule that they're going to make their last video. So then you're like, well, there's more than one, because if they're going to make the last one.
Right.
And I'm saying there because I think it was a dude that was dressing as a chick or a chick that was dressing as a dude. I don't know. So I can't even remember. So I'm just going with they, them. But they, it's messed up. And there's a whole bunch more stuff out there. But basically, this went from a gun control issue to a liberal that's out of control, hatred of
right.
a lot of white, quote unquote, white privilege. So that's all we're going to talk about that. But that came out since the last time I've had to talk to everybody, and I figured you guys don't keep up with the news, so I'd bring that up.
Yeah.
That's basically all the stuff that's been on my mind.
Well, that's pretty good. That's
not that last
across the
one's not
board.
that good.
I mean,
Yeah.
shooters, fart noises,
Birthdays, duck decoys,
ducks,
crying on your mom's shoulder.
Lambo leap. That's pretty good.
Lambo weep.
Weep. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Matt.
Oh yeah. So that Nashville shooter. Yeah. Okay. Now I had to go look it up. I remember. Yeah. I remember that now.
There you go.
Because that whole video of that assault was out for a little bit.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Top 3
Thanks, Troy.
embarrassing.
Embarrassing moments.
Are you driving traffic to your website? Do you have an engaging homepage? Better yet, does your homepage have a video? We recently created a video for a client about his business and the services they provide. Since he placed the video on the homepage of their website, he has had a number of clients specifically say they decided to use his services because of that video. At Trussell Media, we help businesses create engaging videos to host on their websites, email to clients, and use in their social media marketing. Contact us if you're interested in creating a video for your homepage today. TrussellMedia.com. Fill out the form at TrussellMedia.com/contact. Let us help you tell your story through video.
And we're back. That's my job anyway. I don't care who's hosting.
Okay.
But now
Well,
it's your job.
Finish it out.
No, I just do the and we're
All
back
right.
part.
So now we're gonna do our top 3 embarrassing moments, and we're gonna start with Troy. What do you got?
All right, number 3.
I can only imagine.
Your voice cracking on your podcast.
Right now, my voice just cracked.
I can only imagine like how many samples that you had to choose from.
I couldn't think of that
yours
many.
is probably a pretty large list.
Troy may not have been fully coherent when all the embarrassing activity was going on, though.
That's true. That's true.
You gotta want some peanuts?
No, I'm good. They're unsalted. I don't believe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't believe in those. Number 3, we had a father-son middle school basketball game. I was in 8th grade, I think, at this one. And
Were you the father or the son?
hey, that's a legitimate question. I do have a 7th grader. I was the son at this.
Yeah, but my joke was like you were having kids when you were in the 8th grade, but never mind.
Oh, no, was not doing that. But so middle school basketball, actually 2 embarrassing things happened at this game.
One of my embarrassing stories about basketball.
The first
I
one
bet.
is
What's with this guy? What did I do to you, man?
He showed up.
you're breathing. Yeah. So we're all there, and my dad walks in, and my dad used to have a way with the way he dressed at these events, and so he came in dressed like I don't even know how to describe it. He had like these plaid pants on.
Pant, not shorts.
Or I can't remember if they were shorts or pants. No, I think they were plaid shorts, because he had the long knee-high socks and like a shirt that didn't match anything. And I swear he just did.
Totally owned it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the way I dress. What are you looking at?
Right.
You know? Embarrass the crap out of me, of course.
Yeah.
Just because.
I love it.
And that's what he used to, he would, and I would do that to my kids now. I mean, that's hysterical. But back then.
It was a big deal.
Big deal. Very embarrassing. And so that same game, I was shooting a free throw, and one of my friend's dads came and dropped him.
Yours?
Mine, as I'm
No
shooting
way.
a free throw.
Ooh, let that happen today, boy.
Yeah, that's that dude's on a list.
Yeah, he's
on a list.
He's probably on a list now.
Well, he's not with us anymore, but yeah. But
Never mind. I was gonna go. Never mind.
But yeah, so that was pretty embarrassing. Luckily, I had a feeling something like that was going to go down.
Yeah.
So
you weren't.
I was prepared for it and didn't get crazy embarrassed. But yeah. So that was number 3. Number 2, I've had to give 2 wedding best man speeches.
Okay.
And back when I had to give those, public speaking was
not your thing.
Not my thing, and it was extremely embarrassing for me to do. So much so that I began weeping uncontrollably in front of a large group of people when I have to give a speech like that.
I'll be honest with you.
Like out of nerves?
Nerves, it was twofold. So nerves, just having to get up in front of that many people.
Or were you talking about something that meant a lot to you, and then you?
So it's kind of like double stacked. Right?
I do that all the time.
I'm okay
I'll be
with
honest
that.
with you. Like I can get extremely emotional talking in front of a group of people, and almost can't talk.
Yeah, I mean, and that's happened to me doing best man speeches. And so I look at that now, like I'm in a networking group and I have to stand up in front of people every week, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but you're not talking about like passionate.
True. Well, sometimes there's like this testimonial part every week that we stand up and talk about something. It doesn't get to that level of like, hey, I'm this guy's best man type thing. I mean, it can, but yeah. So those were always super embarrassing. And then number 1, I think it was in high school. I can't remember if it was middle school or high school, but we were at church camp.
You were high or drunk?
No, we were at church camp.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
That doesn't stop some people.
I've seen it.
True. But I was messing around. We were playing tag or something, and I tagged this girl, and I turned around and just started sprinting the opposite way as fast as I could. And I hit one of those, you know how those big cables hold telephone poles in the ground?
Yeah.
I hit one of those and kind of like went up my inner thigh.
That left a mark. It had to have left a mark.
Well, it left a mark, and it ripped my shorts and my underwear. like shredded them so much that I had to go change clothes. And after, laying on the ground for a minute, because that hurt.
Yeah.
It skinned up my leg. It racked me.
Did it get your twig and berries?
Yeah, it did not feel good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then everybody, it was one of those things like where everybody laughs and then they're like, "Oh, are you okay?"
Right. It's so tiny. Are you okay? Dude, you're so wrong.
Yeah. So that was number 1. That was pretty embarrassing. And I'm sure I'll come up with some honorable mentions as
All I can say
you
is
tell yours.
amateur hour, sir. Amateur hour. Chet, what do you got?
All right. So
Those don't even scratch the surface of embarrassing, Troy.
Oh,
My basketball embarrassing story is I didn't start playing until I was a junior in high school, like organized basketball at all. So because I grew a lot and people were like, "Oh, you're tall, you should play basketball," and I didn't know anything about the game other than like scoring and defending a little bit. But I was put, and I did really well from learning because I was very aggressive, and that's one of the things that my coach really liked. But playing JV as a junior, and I didn't know the scenario, but there was this deal where it was an inbound play, and I'm on defense, and like the other team's dragging their feet, and so the officials like blowing a whistle, like, "Come on, let's go," and because he has to hand the ball to the dude that's going to throw it in, and the dude's just like not coming, so the official puts the ball on the floor and starts a 5 count. I thought, I don't know why, but I thought when you put the ball on the floor, whoever gets to it first
Is the winner.
gets the ball. It's like whoever wants it kind of thing. So I dive after the ball, and then the other dude is like, "Why is he diving after my ball?" And he like dives on top of me. And then the official had to break us up, and he's like, "Hey, dummy, you're on defense and you don't get the ball." I'm like, "But you put it down." I'm like getting an argument with the official, and he's like, "You don't know anything about basketball." And everybody, I'm right there in the stands. It's a inbounds play. I felt like an idiot. I was an idiot. Number 2, mission trip, 1994, college. There's 70 of us in Atlanta doing some work. Yeah. What were we doing work for? The Olympics. We were there ahead of time doing some stuff, getting ready for the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. You remember that? Anyway, it was this thing where they try to drum up emotion and all this stuff and testimonies and whatnot every night. And we were staying in this church, and we were like sleeping in rooms on the floor, and our common area was in the gym. So we go out, work all day, eat pizza, went to some kind of pizza buffet place, and then we come back and like, "Oh, we're going to group up at like 9:30 and whatever else." So 70 of us are sitting on the floor in this gym the last night of the mission trip, and they're all trying to tug on all the heartstrings and get people, and everybody's sharing and crying, and an hour and a half into this, like it's just going way late. And we're sitting on a gym floor, and I'm sitting, with sitting on my butt with my heels ahead of me, and I'm leaning over and got my arms wrapped around my knees, and don't realize, but my butt is asleep. Like, can't feel a thing. And then the loudest at a moment when a girl is like testifying crying, the loudest fart you've ever heard in your entire life in a gym.
On the wood floor.
In a silent gym on a wood floor.
Oh, yeah, that's reverberating around.
Reverberates so much so that nobody knew where it came from. It was not directional. It was just like, wah, and everybody's like, who did? And then I realized it was me. And I'm like, well, dude, what happens here? Because they're literally like, I look over, I wasn't even sitting next to my friends, and they're like, who did that? Who did that? And I'm like, well, do I like play it off and lie in this great testimony time, or do I take ownership? And I took ownership. And then like the guy stood up and started doing that Arsenio Hall, like this is the most awesome thing that's ever happened to them. And so I've turned red faced, get embarrassed. But it never, other than like people reflecting on how awesome that was, it wasn't like I never got picked on about it. It was like, man, that was like the most awesome thing, and it ended it. Like everybody got to go to bed after that. Like this is over. Like no more testimony, no more prayers.
We're not coming back after that.
We're done.
Oh
You can't.
my gosh, that's so funny.
And then my last one, Troy was there for indirectly, and this is work related, and my boss at the time was making an effort to communicate more with the division that she was running, and she had decided to make a communication video with her employees. So she took her iPad and like set it down on a kickstand, and then was looking at her computer screen and reading some notes and charts and, you know, kind of looking down every now and then. And, you know, so I went to her and I said, I really appreciate you. You know, that was good, but it wasn't good. Like the aesthetics, we need to be more professional than you to lay a laptop on a desk and look over it like that. And I said, and Troy from Trussell Media is actually here on our campus today filming an event that we have out there. If you want to do another one of these, can I just call him and have him come over and you could record another one? And she's like, thank you so much. No, first of all, no one gave me constructive feedback that said this needs to be better. So appreciate that. And yes, you're providing a solution to this. Bring him over. And so I start texting Troy. I'm like, Troy, I need you to come over here and film this video. You need a tripod and a light. We're going to do it in my office. It'll be pretty simple. You know, we actually negotiate pricing real quick. And so then I'm going back and texting my boss, hey, when's a good time? Troy's going to finish up in about an hour. And she's like, I could do it in an hour and 30. And then I text Troy, we could do it in an hour and 30. And he's like, yeah, we can do it. And I text my boss, we could do it. And yeah, that's good. Let's do it this time. We're going to do it in my office. And so all these text messages are flying back and forth between three different people, but we're not all in the same text string. And then I go to say, Troy, I'm really excited about this because her last video was like pointed right up at her neck, which was the least flattering view of her at all. Like it's not a good view. And then I, you know, sent that off, and then I look. I sent that to my boss. I did not send that to Troy. And so I highlighted how the least flattering view. And I'm like, oh, shoot. I can't believe I just did this. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I don't know. But at least she's not going to see all this because she's in a meeting with the entire staff, all my peers. But I'll you know, profusely apologize after the meeting's over. I'll open the conference room door. Everybody in there busts out laughing. Oh, you dummy. I can't believe you said that text. She got the text and read it out loud to everybody in there and like, look what Chet just said about me, you know, and I opened that door.
Oh, man.
Totally
Brutal.
embarrassing, man. Totally embarrassed.
They let you have it.
But the second video she did that Troy filmed was awesome, and he got a gig out of that. And every time she was in town, he'd go record. So there's my top 3.
All right.
Positives coming out of negatives.
It's good stuff.
It's always good stuff. Better, I think. We're getting closer.
I had a fart story back in science class, similar to yours.
Yeah.
Except I didn't own it.
Oh, you just played it off? Like, who did that?
No, so we're all sitting in rows, right? And I feel bad. But the girl sitting next to me.
You blamed it on a girl?
And everybody looked around, you know, and I went, looked straight at her. And
No way,
blamed it
man.
on her, yeah.
That's cruel.
Stinky
Isn't that
Stephanie.
horrible?
Stinky Stephanie.
All right, Matt, fire away.
So, fart stories. I've got one. And there's no way on this planet that you guys will ever have a better fart story
My life isn't over yet.
that's as embarrassing as this, and I can guarantee it.
Okay.
But it's not my number 3.
Oh, wow.
I've got number 1 and 2 that are pretty epic.
Yeah.
All right. But my number 3, I was trying to think, and I was like, I'm pretty careful not to embarrass myself. Like I take great strides to make sure that never happens.
Apparently not as
Good as us.
good as me.
But, well, I mean, you still embarrass yourself just like daily, but not like in major, like epic ways, like I have.
It's all about humility. If you're humble, you don't get embarrassed by it because you don't think you're something.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, fire away.
So anyway, number 3, I was trying to think, and your church story brought one back for me. So we were we'd gone down to Oklahoma City because they'd always had these Christian conferences and concerts down in Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
and so you'd go down for weekend or whatever with your youth group and, have a good time. And we were on our way back. Well, we would always stop at this pizza place there in Oklahoma City. And I can't remember whether it's started with an M, and I can't remember the name of it. They're still around.
Mazzio's
Pizza. There we go. And so I ate these breadsticks that were just super garlicky, and they didn't sit well with me. And so the whole ride back, like
you got to churn.
Like my stomach's just bubbling, right? But I'm not farting. I'm burping. And those deep guttural,
yeah.
And I'm just laying down in the back and everybody's like, what is that smell? And I'm just back there because I'm acting like I'm asleep or whatever. And the whole way back, they thought somebody was farting in the car. And I'm like, just me burping that garlic the whole time. And they could not figure it out. So now they know. Because I just let that ride. Like I never even woke up. I listened and nobody even blamed me.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm laying down in the car, cargo.
All I have to say is your 2-1 better be better than that. You're talking all this trash.
Because how is that embarrassing if they didn't find out it was you?
Because it's embarrassing for me. I'm laying back there. I'm like, oh my gosh, they think I just farted, but it's actually just a burp,
Yeah.
So anyway.
My burps are so bad that people think they're farts.
Yeah. So anyway.
What his farts are like.
They can.
All right, go ahead.
50-50. Ask this next person. So, so when I was injured in 2011, I was airlifted to
first IED, second one. 2011, the second one. Yeah.
So they take me to Bastion and they get me all kind of fixed up and ready to go to Germany for treatment or whatever. So I'm not sure at what point they started doing the exploratory laparotomies on me, which is where they basically cut you open from stem to stern to make sure that none of your organs have been compromised in the process. Right. And because of the IED that I stepped on basically split me like a wishbone. Mm-hmm. So my perineum was torn. And they're like, well, we're going to have to put a colostomy bag or, we have to do it to maintain cleanliness so he doesn't get an infection.
Yeah.
So I had a colostomy bag for 2 years. But in the process of that IED also, I had fractured my hip.
Uh-huh.
So I had this X-fix on my hip. I'm laying on a hospital bed. I can't move. I
have colostomy bag questions for off podcast
okay.
things. I got curious.
This may answer them. So this may answer everything you've ever wanted to know about a colostomy bag.
Okay.
So I'm laying there in San Diego, and by this point in time, they'd got me these really nice. I still had the X-fix on my hip, so I couldn't move a whole lot. I couldn't really sit up, and but they'd got me these nice travel colostomy bags, so you just change them out more often, but not a big deal. And then you would have to go and change the seal every week. Okay. So basically there's a seal that goes against your skin, and then these bags would clip to that seal, and you just unclip the bag, throw it away, clip a new one on.
Yeah.
And so this was before I was doing any of that because all of the care was done by the staff.
Right.
And so there was this one nurse, and she was always super sweet. And I always, I gave my nurses a hard time. Matter of fact, after I got out of the hospital, I wrote her a letter and just apologized for being a jerk.
Yeah.
While I was in there, I was like, I was still
waiting on my letter.
Well, you're not going to get one. So, because I was in there and I was in charge of Marines and I was running a squad and I was used to giving the orders and, being
you don't want to listen to some nurse tell you what to do.
Being on somebody coming in and telling me how we're going to do things and this is how it's going to work. I was like, this, I don't like that a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So I had to apologize. But anyway, that's another part of the story. So anyway, it was coming up on the weekly time to do the change of the seal for my colostomy bag. And so, she takes the bag off and she's, very gently taking the alcohol prep pad, because then you put alcohol on the adhesive and so it peels off a little bit easier. Because it'd get pretty tender, if you try to just rip that thing off and it's pulling hair and, not very comfortable at all. And God bless this girl. She was just so detailed, and she's down there around the stoma, which is, on my stomach. And she's just really in there, and trying to get every little piece of adhesive and glue off. And you can't control anything.
There's no sphincter.
You're not doing anything.
It comes out.
And I let out a fart through that stoma that blew her hair back.
Oh my God.
And
Like one of those old, like Nutty Professor or something blows up and the hair's all sticking out.
I mean, yeah, but more like it just blew it back like, she's on a bicycle in the breeze. I mean, like, and that was so embarrassing for me because I was like, I'm so sorry. Like there's nothing I could do. And she was so sweet about it. She's like, oh no big deal. And I know she went out and like dry heaved. Like she tasted every bit of that, whatever was there.
Oh man.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
I don't even enjoy hearing about it.
So that,
Oh, I can just see her hair. Poof.
yeah. But she's forgiven me for being a jerk, and we have never, ever mentioned the fart directly to her face.
Since then.
No. Day of,
Yeah.
there was like, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. That was it.
Yeah.
No other words were ever said, even though I could see it in her face. Like,
Yeah.
and then number one was kind of a Marine Corps story, kind of not. But a lot of things happened on my wedding day. My grandfather had passed away, and his funeral was on the same day that my wife and we eloped.
Yeah.
And but I had just graduated boot camp. So all of my drill instructors, before you leave boot camp, they're like, don't you go off and get married, blah, 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 And I was like, well, I'm dating for a while, it's not like whatever. And so we decided we're going to get married on the 10 days leave. Well, I still had PTSD from boot camp. So you're so used to like, if you don't do something immediately, if you don't act, there's going to be somebody screaming and coming and running at you to snatch you up. And then you're going to go outside and you're going to be doing, I don't know, mountain climbers and all kinds of stupid stuff. Right. So we're at my grandfather's funeral, and my uncle is up giving the eulogy, and he's like, if there's any veterans in the house, stand up and be recognized. And I'm at my grandfather's funeral in my blues, or in my alphas, and I'm dressed up, for this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like,
do I stand up or do I not stand up?
Do I not stand up?
Yeah.
And then I stood up. I was like, I'm waiting for the drill instructor to come snatch me up because I didn't stand up. Yeah. And I'm in uniform, And so I stood up, and then I kind of I looked around and I saw like all these older, like veteran, veterans. And I was like, and I sat down, and then my uncle's like, or, if you've joined the military, I'll stand up and be like, and I was like, so I stood back up, and I was like, this is so freaking embarrassing. I had so much PTSD just from boot camp and getting yelled at. I was like, boom, I was up, and then I was like, oh, that's probably not, okay, I'll stand back up. And I know my grandfather, who was, World War II veteran, I know he was laughing at that whole situation, but.
Veteran stand up, Matt, not you.
Yeah. And now,
okay, Matt, go ahead and stand up.
Now I qualify. Yeah. Now I qualify because I got to thinking about that as I got older, because it's something I go back to all the time. Every time I'm at a funeral and somebody's giving a eulogy, I think about that moment. And of course, it's always embarrassing for him, but I'm like,
what'd I do?
Now I rate. Like, I don't, who cares? Right. Yeah. But if me had seen me stand up, now me would have snatched me up and be like,
hey, dummy,
who do you think you are, man?
Yeah.
So
just because you have uniform, man.
Right. Yeah. That was
you made it through boot camp.
Yeah. That was my number one. But it was so funny because I sat there because I didn't stand up, but then I felt like everybody was looking at me, and I was like, maybe I should.
Well, the idiot's wearing a uniform.
Yeah. That dummy's wearing a uniform. Well, why don't you stand up? But
that's funny.
Man, those are pretty good.
Yep, those are my top 3 embarrassing moments. I think is overall a pretty good list, but I think farting out of your stoma and directly into a nurse's face kind of takes the cake, really.
Yes, that
as far as fart stories go.
Right, there's a lot of those today. A little bodily function more than normal,
and they're funny. Jace Robertson talks about it all the time, but I
got Troy with a handshake. I mean, after that, it was all downhill. Realize how much humor there was
I
there.
can't even do that.
Can you do it?
My hands are too dry. No.
See, it's definitely,
Can't do
it's
it.
your hands. That's the common denominator there.
I'm talented.
Wait, let's see.
See, I can do that.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, you guys.
What are we doing here?
Take us away with a good word.
that's pretty embarrassing.
All right. So yeah, there's this movie out now. I can't remember if we mentioned it or not before. After Death. It's about what happens after people die, and I have not seen the movie yet as we're recording this, but it got me thinking. I heard a scripture from Revelation the other day, and it just got me thinking. I'm cool with after death.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm good because, and you just mentioned Jace Robertson. He always says, Jesus raised himself from the dead, and there's proof of that. I want to be on that dude's team. Like
Right.
I'm with that guy because if he can raise himself from the dead, he's going to raise me from the dead. And so I don't know what the good word is. It's just after death can be amazing.
Yeah.
So in Acts 1:8,
Resurrection.
resurrection. There you go. There's a good word. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and all in Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. And when he had said these things, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. And so that was when he was lifted up and went to sit at the right hand of the Father. And and it goes on in verse 10, and while they were gazing into heaven as he went, behold, two men stood by them in white robes and said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven. So he said he was coming back. These two witnesses, these two men stood by them in white robes, said that he was going to come back. And then if you fast forward to Revelation 22, the angel, so Revelation was written by John. It was his revelation given to him by God on what happens at the end of time. And it said, the angel said to me, this is 22:6, these words are trustworthy and true. The Lord, the God who inspires the prophets, sent his angel to show his servants the things that must soon take place. So this is at the end of the book. He has just gone through everything that is going to happen at the end, in the end times. And then it's in verse 7, it says, Look, I am coming soon. Blessed is the one who keeps the words of the prophecy written in this scroll. And that's Jesus talking. And so he claims again that he is going to come again. And so that's our hope. That's our hope in our resurrection, is that Jesus is who he says he is, and that he cannot lie, and he says he's coming back. I believe it. I'm on his team, and you should too. You should be on his team too. That's
and you don't fear death because of that.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.